Before you take your first sip of anything this morning, pause for a moment and think honestly about your usual routine. Not what you plan to do or what you think is healthy, but what you actually repeat every single day without thinking. Because what I'm about to tell you sounds simple and harmless, but it's one of the most repeated patterns I see. And most people don't realize that this small habit could be putting quiet pressure on their liver over time. Here's the truth that many people only understand when something already feels wrong inside their body. Liver stress rarely starts with something dramatic or painful that forces your attention immediately and clearly. It builds slowly through small daily habits that feel normal, routine, and completely harmless at first. And one of the most overlooked times of the day where this pattern begins is your morning routine. Most people don't know this because they focus more on what they eat at night or during the day. But they completely ignore how they start their day, even though that first hour matters more than they think. Now think about your own routine in a real and honest way without trying to justify your habits. You wake up feeling slightly tired, maybe dehydrated, and not fully alert or stable yet. Your body has just come out of a long resting state, and your internal systems are still adjusting. And then suddenly, without thinking, you do something that feels normal and completely harmless. You reach for a drink, you grab something quick, or you stimulate your system instantly. And then you move on with your day without giving it any real attention or importance. This is not what you think, and this is where most people misunderstand what is happening. Your body in the morning is not in the same state as it is during the rest of the day. It is more sensitive, more responsive, and more dependent on how you start your routine. Let me explain this in a simple way that makes it easier for you to understand clearly. Think of your liver like a processing system that works continuously even while you are sleeping. Overnight, your body stays in a slower recovery-focused state, not in an active processing mode. Now imagine waking up and suddenly overloading your system instead of gradually activating it. Not with something extreme, but with something small that you repeat every single morning. That sudden shift creates pressure inside your system, even if you don't feel it immediately. Not something you notice instantly, but something that builds slowly through consistency. And consistency is what creates long-term effects, not one-time actions or occasional mistakes. Now, let's go deeper and look at what most people actually do every morning without realizing it. They skip hydration completely and go straight to strong stimulation like caffeine or heavy intake. They consume something quickly without giving their system time to adjust and stabilize properly. They remain inactive for too long or jump into activity without a proper transition in between. Individually, these habits don't feel dangerous or harmful enough to worry about seriously. But when they repeat every single day, they create a pattern that affects your internal balance. And that pattern is what slowly starts affecting your system without obvious warning signs. Most people don't connect this because they think problems come from extreme behaviors only. But here's the truth that most people completely overlook in their daily lifestyle. It's often the small things done consistently that create the biggest long-term impact. This is where it gets serious, even though it still feels simple and easy to ignore. Because your liver does not complain early or give strong signals that demand your attention. It adapts, it compensates, and it keeps working even when it is under constant pressure. And that is exactly why people believe everything is fine until something changes later. Now imagine your routine again and look at it from a more aware perspective. You wake up, you feel slightly slow, and you reach for something without thinking deeply. You don't give your body time to transition or prepare for the shift from rest to activity. You don't allow your system to wake up gradually in a stable and controlled way. And over time, your body stays in a constant state of slight imbalance without you noticing. Not enough to stop you from functioning, but enough to affect how you feel daily. You may feel fatigue, heaviness, sluggishness, or lack of clarity during the day. And you assume that you just need more rest or more energy to fix the problem. But here's the truth that most people never consider in their daily routine. Sometimes it's not rest that your body needs, but a better and more stable start. Now, let's go deeper into why your morning routine matters more than you think. Your body works on timing and signals, not just actions or random habits. Morning is a reset point, a transition from rest to activity that needs proper handling. And how you handle that transition decides how your system responds throughout the day. Let me give you a simple analogy so you can understand this even more clearly. Imagine starting a car engine and immediately pushing it to full speed without letting it stabilize. That sudden pressure creates stress instead of smooth and efficient performance. Your body works in the same way, even though you may not realize it consciously. Most people treat their body like a switch that can instantly turn on and off. But your body is not a switch. It is a system that needs gradual activation. Now think again about your morning pattern and how consistent or random it really is. If every morning starts with sudden stimulation, your system never stabilizes properly. If your routine changes daily, your body stays reactive instead of balanced. And over time, that instability becomes your normal way of feeling and functioning. This is where it gets serious, because slow imbalance feels normal until it becomes noticeable. Now let's talk about what you should actually do instead of repeating the same pattern. You don't need extreme changes or complicated routines that are hard to maintain. You need simple adjustments that your body can understand and respond to consistently. First, give your body a moment after waking instead of rushing into stimulation immediately. For example, sit up, breathe slowly, and allow your system to wake naturally. Your body needs a transition, not a sudden shock that forces it into activity. Second, start your day with hydration instead of jumping into strong stimulation instantly. For example, drink water before anything else to restore balance in your system. Your body needs stability first before it can handle anything more intense. Third, delay strong stimulation slightly instead of starting your day with it immediately. For example, give your system time before introducing anything that activates it strongly. Timing matters more than most people realize when it comes to how your body responds. Fourth, add light movement to activate your system without creating stress or overload. For example, stretch, walk, or move gently to signal your body that it's time to start. Movement helps your system wake up in a controlled and stable way. Fifth, create consistency in your routine instead of changing it every single day. For example, follow a similar pattern so your body can learn and adapt properly. Your body learns through repetition, not through random and inconsistent behavior. Now pause and think about how simple this really is when you break it down. But this is exactly where most people fail because they underestimate simple patterns. They expect complex solutions while ignoring small habits that actually create real change. But here's the truth that you need to understand clearly moving forward. Your body responds to consistency more than it responds to intensity or effort. Now think about your mornings again with this new understanding in your mind. Are you activating your system properly, or are you shocking it every single day? Because that difference affects your energy, your focus, and your long-term stability. Now let me calm something that might already be in your mind at this moment. This does not mean you are damaging your liver right now in a serious way. But it does mean your daily pattern matters more than you think. And what you repeat consistently shapes how your body responds over time. Most people ignore their mornings completely without realizing their importance. You don't have to make that mistake because now you understand something valuable. If this made you think differently, don't ignore it and don't delay taking action. Tomorrow morning, don't repeat the same pattern automatically without awareness. Pause. Adjust your routine slightly and notice how your body responds to the change. Because sometimes the smallest change in your morning creates the biggest difference. And that difference shapes how your body feels throughout the entire day.